Good evening and thank you for joining us on India Business Hour. I'm Parikshit Luthra and here are the headlines we are tracking at this hour. Markets end the day and the week flat after bouts of heavy volatility, but Indian equities are turning into foreign money magnets once again. $7 billion coming in during July and August. Data points to a lot more inflows on the anvil as India's fundamentals stand out against other Asian and emerging markets. The RBI issues new digital lending guidelines to protect borrowers' data from being misused to commit fraud. As per the RBI, regulated entities cannot store borrowers' data except for some basic minimal information. Also, data cannot be collected without borrowers' explicit consent. New rules to be applicable to the existing customers availing fresh loans and to new customers effective immediately. Demand for work under the government's flagship MNREGA scheme is lower than the last 2 years, reflecting a return to normalcy after COVID-led distress. Data shows that monthly demand for MNREGA work has fallen consistently. There has been a 56% dip between May and August. The government proposes some strict testing standards for electric vehicles and EV batteries to improve safety. Proposals include multiple sensors to detect temperature and electrical fluctuations and a safety fuse. Seek stakeholder feedback in the next 30 days. Starbucks names Lakshman Narasimhan as the new CEO a day after he steps down as Reckitt CEO. Lakshman will join Starbucks on the 1st of October and will be succeeding Howard Schultz from next April. 13 bidders enter the race for a minority stake sale in NTPC Green Energy. Sources say bidders include Canadian Pension Fund, Petronas, Brookfield and ArcelorMittal, and that NTPC is hoping for 2,000 crore rupees through the sale before it looks at listing the subsidiary. Prime Minister Narendra Modi commissions India's first indigenous aircraft carrier, the INS Vikrant. The 43,000-ton warship, which costs 20,000 crores, is the largest to be built in India and puts India on par with 5 other nations that can build their own aircraft carriers. Let's get to the day's market action. It was a flat end to a volatile week for the market. Sensex and Nifty closed flat after swinging between gains and losses. Nifty slipped 3 points while Sensex gained 37 points. Mid-cap index gained for 11th consecutive week despite falling by over 100 points. RBI has released operational guidelines for digital lending in a bid to protect borrowers from growing frauds and unethical recovery practices. As per the RBI, regulated entities cannot store borrowers' data except for some basic minimal information. Data cannot be collected without borrowers' explicit consent. New rules to be applicable to the existing customers availing fresh loans and to new customers effective immediately. However, in order to ensure a smooth transition, regulated entities have been given time till 30th of November 2022 to conform to new guidelines in letter and spirit. Ritu Singh gets us more.
The Reserve Bank of India has released the much-awaited digital lending guidelines based on the recommendations of the working group, and this has been done in a bid to protect borrowers from growing frauds and unethical recovery practices that have been seen in this space. And these rules very clearly say that any loan disbursement and repayment has to be done directly into the bank account of the borrower and not any third party or lending service provider. Any data of the borrower which is stored by these third parties or loan service providers can only be very minimal, only for the purpose of operations, and no data of the borrower can be used or saved without the explicit consent of the borrower. RBI has also mandated a full disclosure of the all-inclusive cost of these digital loans, which has to be presented to the borrower in a key fact statement at the time of sanctioning the loan. No automatic increase in limits, in credit limits can happen, which has often been the case, which is also now something that RBI has clamped down on. Data collected by digital lending apps will have to be need-based and also have clear audit trails. Importantly, all of these loans, irrespective of the nature and tenor, will have to be disclosed by the regulated entity to the credit information companies as per the existing rules. Largely, this ends any sort of uncertainty around the digital lending guidelines. It also, it could increase the cost of compliance for some of the fintechs, but overall, it is seen as a positive step, in protection of the borrowers. Of course, we'll have to see how the industry reacts to these.
All right. Thank you very much, Ritu Singh, for joining us. Fewer people are demanding work under the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. As per the Finance Ministry, this reflects the return to normalcy after 2 years of COVID-led distress. There has been a 56% decline in the number of people seeking jobs under the government's flagship Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme between May and August. Sapna Das gets us more.
Absolutely. In fact, the Finance Ministry data is also pretty much clear on that front, and the MNREGA data is in public domain. This can be easily availed and checked out. So starting off first, of course, the Ministry's comment saying that in the last 2 odd years, there has been a significant decline in the demand for work under MNREGA by individuals especially. So if you look at FY22 versus FY21, FY21 was the year when COVID was at its peak, and there was a COVID-led nationwide lockdown. So if you look at FY22, around 40 odd crore people had availed, or rather there was demand for work by individuals under MNREGA, 40 odd crore individuals. The number was much higher in FY21 at close to 45 crores. So that's one data set. Also, month on month, sequentially, this decline in the demand for work is very much visible. So if you look at the Finance Ministry data point, they are talking about May on May this year compared to May last year. So this year, May, the number was almost half of what it was last year. The demand for work by individual category is down by almost 40%. And if you come down to August now, August, in fact, the demand has been the lowest so far. Around, and if you compare this with May, it's a sizable dip of almost 56 odd %. So in May, maybe around 4.4 crore individuals demanded work under MNREGA. In the month of August, this is below 2 crores. So this is what the data indicates. But Ministry at its end is clear that they are not trying to say that this could be because the job market is stabilizing. But the Ministry is very much clear on the fact that this clearly indicates that there's a return to normalcy after 2 years of distress caused by COVID.
All right. Thank you very much, Sapna, for joining us with that update. Coffee giant Starbucks has named Lakshman Narasimhan as Howard Skult's successor. The 55-year-old executive will be joining Starbucks from the 1st of October as incoming CEO and will take over from Skults in April. Skults will remain on the board after the transition. Lakshman's appointment to the Starbucks top post comes a day after he resigned from Reckitt. The government has proposed some strict testing standards for electric vehicles and EV batteries to improve safety. Proposals include multiple sensors to detect temperature and electrical fluctuations and a safety fuse. Stakeholder comments have been sought over the next 30 days, and the new guidelines will come into effect from the 1st of October. This is what the government is proposing at this juncture. 13 bidders enter the race for a minority stake sale in NTPC Green Energy. Sources say bidders include Canadian Pension Fund, Petronas, Brookfield and ArcelorMittal, and that the NTPC is hoping for 2,000 crore rupees through the sale before it looks at listing the subsidiary. In a big boost to India's defence arsenal, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has commissioned India's first ever indigenous aircraft carrier, the INS Vikrant, at a special ceremony in Kochi. Called as India's largest warship, INS Vikrant is built at a cost of 20,000 crore rupees. The Prime Minister called the warship a vibrant symbol of Indian pride.
आत्मनिर्भर होते भारत का अद्वितीय प्रतिबिंब है विक्रांत। आजादी के अमृत महोत्सव का अतुलनीय अमृत है विक्रांत। आईएनएस विक्रांत पर हो रहा ये आयोजन विश्व क्षितिज पर भारत के बुलंद होते हौसलों की हुंकार है।
And time for a short break, but coming up, Bollywood is in a funk. It has been for over 2 years now. We tell you the reason why after this short break. Don't go anywhere.